Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sons and Daughters of Liberty. We'll be on this Monday. We'll be continuing our broken systems with part 4, talking about and dealing with the economic system, which I think we will quickly see that it will be in any and every broken system that we talk about, because it's part of the design of it. It's what implements the control factors and stuff. And we'll cover that. But before we get started, I'd like to share with you guys worldly.com, as I've frequently been doing. I know many of us are looking for a new site, new platforms to be on. And for me, I've been thoroughly enjoying watching this platform grow. Christina Taft's amazing founder, creator of this. She's got an amazing development team that takes time and listens to our suggestions. That's, to me, something that's important, not seen anywhere else. Taking your feedback to improve the site, get the things that we want, and it's a site that's, for the most part, it has a few bugs that they've been working out, but some of the improvements is awesome to see take place. It's much like, it's got many of the features that we see elsewhere, but it's got other new features that we don't see. And that's what I enjoy. The ability to come over here and create an event. And be able to create the event and put my video right here, so they can not have to leave the site and be able to watch it. I mean, that's quite cool. I mean, everything's streamlined, fit, real easy to use. That's what I'm enjoying, the ease of use as well. Something I recommend you guys all check out. I mean, we have able to create groups, videos, and eventually they're going to be working on, this is later down the road, but they're going to also be working on setting it up so we can live stream, which is very important to a bunch of us. So it's something to follow, something to join, get on, and give your feedback and opinions of, to help make this a better site, to help it make it what we're all looking for. And that's what it's about. Protecting our freedom of speech is so important. And having a place to go where that's respected. So check it out if you haven't. I'll leave the link in the chat. You guys to check out. And just know that it's still under development, it's still a work in progress, but all your feedback is taken into consideration. Now, on to this evening's show, the economic system. Oh boy. I was reminded when I was writing this up of the old saying, the root of all evil is money. Money is the root of all evil. And we go as far as some of the other sayings. You want to find the corruption, you want to find what's really going on, follow the money. It's very true. I mean, history has shown us many lessons of the downfalls and pitfalls of wealth, money, whatever form of currency it may be, whether it's in trading beads or recognizing skills, people's skills as a monetary value, to labor. And they know the power that they have over the common folk when they start implementing these structures, these systems, how they can control people, how they can create and control a caste system by creating social classes, poor, middle class, rich, elite, which, as I've shown in every system, there's a form, the caste system shows its ugly head. The fall of Rome had much to do with the greed within the Senate, the corruption within the Senate. That was the ultimate downfall of Rome, and it's been like that for so many empires throughout history. But yet we keep, instead of learning from those lessons, we keep using those same systems as our structure, even though we know they're flawed, we know they're abused. And it's a design system. It's designed to control. I mean, in truth, we should call the economic system for what it is, the slavery system. It's meant to enslave you by getting you in debt, controlling the amount of money that flows into your households. We hear the argument, well, let's raise minimum wage to $18 an hour. Sounds good in theory, but in practice, it doesn't work. Because what happens is they raise the wage to $18 an hour, and they match that raise with the prices in the stores. All the prices go up, increase to match the raise. Then when it's all said and done, because you jumped the tax bracket, you're actually bringing home less than what you were before. So how does raising the minimum wage even help? Because now you're actually bringing home less after taxes and stuff, after the fact that there's no laws in place to stop corporations and businesses from increasing the prices to match the increase of the wage. Where now the businesses and the corporations are making more money and you're making less. Now we talk about we're living in a bubble. Well, my theory and ideas about the whole stock market thing's been simple over the years. It's a bunch of numbers that are constantly being influenced. Oh, we're at our all-time high. Oh, we've dropped. Because they never talk about the fact that, well, we just set record highs. So when we fall below that, they say, oh, we're in a recession or the bubble's going to break. When the fact is, where is the original line to show that we've stopped growth? It's an illusion because they just represent it only by the highest number. Then anytime it drops 500 to 1,000, so we reach back clear down where we were 2 years ago. But yet 2 years ago, that was still a higher than what it was 2 years before that. But they say it's a recession. Things are in a decline. Where's the bottom line balance where, if we drop below the original line instead of the highest line, to where we could actually say there's a recession or there's a failure. The stock markets, the gold, silver, it's all a manipulation. The buying and selling. Some people cause a shift to get people to sell so they can buy the stock cheaper. It's a game that's designed You know, we should never be basing our economics off a stock market or an exchange. Because then we're just giving further control to wealthy individuals who are manipulating the system, who are manipulating the prices that we have to deal with every day. You know, then we have a Federal Reserve that just does what it wants. There's no checks and balances on the Federal Reserve other than the Federal Reserve. Now we can go clear back to our Revolutionary War, what really stoked it, where the coin taxation without representation first came from. When we tried to get our sovereignty and create our own form of currency. Our currency was not recognized by no one else because they didn't want us to have an independent currency. They didn't want us to have anything that was value. I know. Then we created our coins and currency, which we backed by gold, but nobody wanted to recognize that currency. So it took a war to completely free ourselves from Britain and show the world that we're a sovereign nation. We're going to have our own currency. You know, most people don't realize that even within the bartering system that's been around since pretty much the beginning of time, the bartering system's based on your skills, your knowledge, your wisdom. What are you good at? Now, most people talk about the bartering system as just bartering items and goods, but it was also bartering of skills, of labor. They have something you need. Well, I can build this. Can we make a trade? My services for the goods, which in an ideal world, that is common sense. Now we have an education system, which is what we covered just last week, and I kind of not didn't talk about it, but you know the whole purpose of going to college isn't to get an education. It's actually to put you in debt, to become indebted. Therefore, when you graduate from college, get your diplomas and degrees, whether it be bachelor's or master's or a doctorate degree, you're so far in debt it's going to take you to your mid 50s, 60s, with some people, to pay off the education loans and debts that they've acquired. Same way when we're dealing with our credit cards. You charge something, you got to pay interest on the price instead of paying flat out $5 for a $5 item. Now you're going to pay, depending on what the interest rate is, $7. You're going to pay $2 more for a $5 item. And we see this in every aspect. You know, we used to be able to put money in the banks, and the money we put in the banks in our savings account would gain interest at a lower rate, but you're still gaining a little bit of interest for putting your money in the bank. Now we live in a day where they want to charge you an interest to put money in the bank and get nothing in return for it. You know, anything we do in this world revolves around money. You want to go somewhere, well, you gotta have money for gas, you gotta have money for insurance for the vehicle. It's a debting system. It's meant to keep you indebted to a system. Because if you don't, and you get pulled over while you're out and you don't have insurance, well, now we're going to give you a fine. Or if you live in the beautiful state of Ohio, your name comes up randomly and you don't have the vehicle you own, whether you're driving it or not, you don't have proof of insurance, you are going to be fined. You're going to be required to get a bond. So when it's all said and done, you're going to pay more than what you'd pay the insurance company just so you can have the insurance. It's a scam. If my vehicle's broke down, I'm not driving it, I shouldn't have to keep insurance on it. But by the state law here, is even if the vehicle's in storage, you have to have insurance on it. Or take the risk of being severely fined, and on top of that fine, you'll have to carry a high-risk insurance. Even though you may not have no violations. Every system, from the DMV to healthcare. You know, we talk about the debts that our country's in. We talk about the broken medical systems, which we haven't got into the medical system yet. There's simple fixes for it, but they don't want to, because it's all about making that money. It's all about feeding the corporations and the corporate sectors. It's about keeping everyday citizens down, always in debt. You know, if you want to fix the healthcare system, it's quite simple. You find a baseline price, and we'll use neural brain surgery, which is probably one of the most expensive procedures you can have done, that the everyday working blue-collared or white-collared person can't afford. Or if they have to have it because it's life-threatening, an insurance company might decide, oh, you don't make enough, you're not worth the labor, or your time as being a productive citizen that can make us money has no place. You're obsolete, can easily be replaced by somebody else, so no, we're going to deny you the coverage. Instead of setting the price so it's affordable to everyone, from the poorest individual to the richest, which means you base the price on the poorest individual and you set all the prices the same. Therefore, instead of $50, $60, $100,000 surgery, let's just say it's $500. And you do the same things with the pharmaceutical industry, putting a single value on prescription medications so they can't be raised or manipulated or controlled. But they don't want to do that, because if they do that, we're not making millions of dollars. We can't raise the price later when demand is at an all-time high. We're dealing with the economic system. It is a supply and demand system. So they'll create the demand, and they'll influx the prices to match the high end for the demand. You know, we see it with our oil industries. It's one of the most manipulated systems out there. Even more so because it became what we back our currency off. Instead of, we got away from the gold, and now it's petrol, the petrodollar. It's all about controlling the influx of oil. We'll create a shortage, therefore we can raise the price. You know, nobody ever questioned all these oil ranchers and oil owners from Texas and stuff and other places in the U.S. that became senators. You know, now we see why they pushed to change over from gold to petrol. Because by doing so, they're fattening their own wallets. They're creating how much we pay at the pump. You know, I see the prices today and they're ridiculous. I remember being able to fill up my Camaro for $10. For $15, it was like 5 packs of smokes and a pop and a full tank of gas. We don't live in those day and age anymore. You know, my generation was probably one of the last generations that seen gas prices below 90 cents. The more we pay out, the less we have. And it just don't stop with the oil industry. We see it. Well, gas prices go up, so we need to raise our prices because we're losing profit because we got to pay the drivers to drive and deliver the goods, the product. So they raise those prices. Then we see less and less of our check because it's going to pay the bills. It's going to put the groceries on the table, put the clothes on us. It becomes a system that's meant to keep you indebted because now I'm a little short this week, so now I'm going to have to charge the groceries or charge for the clothes. You know, then we start getting with the computers and technology. Everybody has to have the new iPhone. They become addicted to a product. And they don't even realize it. They think the only thing addictive is drugs, when in all actuality, you become addicted to products. Thinking that you have to have a new phone every year. My cell phone's 3 years old. And it's not no iPhone. Why do I need an iPhone when my Android works just fine? No contract, no nothing. You know, we've gotten away from the fact that we need to have money in our pockets. Here, we'll just give you a debit card that's links to your bank account. And we're going to take interest every time you create a transaction. Further, taking more money away from you. You know, the tax system is the ultimate epitome of a joke. And most people don't even realize, oh, they're just taking this out. I'll get it back the following year. I'll get a federal and state tax return. You know, the illusion of that you're actually getting something back when they're actually taking it away from you when you forget your check. Then the real reality of the fact that they're still taking some away from you because you're not getting what they took fully back. You know, we see foundations, corporations. We've created so many labels for our economic system that it's not even funny. when the reality of it becomes quite simple. It's used to control. It's used to control who's going to be something and who's not, who's going to be the working force and nothing more. The economic system basically treats each individual as if they are cattle. To the point we see it even in our legal system. Our prison systems have become multi-billion-dollar corporations that are designed to keep people within the system because they're making money off the person that goes to jail, goes to prison. Instead of reforming them, like, Department of Rehabilitation is supposed to mean, and corrections, they took the rehabilitations and the reforming out of it. Can't get no schooling, can't get no education, can't get no trade skills being taught to them. So therefore, when they get out, they don't have no skills or no education to fall back onto to apply for jobs. Well, then they get the label of being a convicted felon, which is just another way of saying putting a label on a person to prevent them from getting a job. I get it. I get it. Some people do deserve to be there. But when the pharmaceutical company created this epidemic of opioids we have, most people think of just what's going on today. It all started clear back when they released OxyContin. The statistic was mind-blowing at how many people were being sent to prison for possession of OxyContin, or because they were so addicted to it, they were committing crimes, petty crimes that shouldn't have landed them in prison. But they realized it became a cash cow, it became a money-making thing that everybody was making money off. Clear up to the pharmaceutical corporation of the pharmaceutical level were making millions and billions of dollars off of, except for those that were addicted. Those that became addicted ended up being another form of cash crop, the corporations. Became slaves to a system that they never intended to. And yes, there's plenty of blame to go around on that one. The doctors were freely just handing the stuff out like it was candy. But the ultimate driving force of it was money. It was all about the money. Not the money that we were making and receiving, because we were paying high-end taxes, insurance rates were going up because the system was bombarded. Clear down to the welfare system. It's always been broken. It was meant to bring people in, to get them hooked on it. And it's one of the most abused systems that was ever created. Because it was designed to be. It was designed to create debt. It was designed to create a need for more money. My opinion's always been, when it comes to politicians at any level, once they take office, there should never be allowed no lobbyists, because all a lobbyist is doing is bribing the politician, offering them goods so they vote a certain way on a particular matter. Lobbyists should be completely removed. Anyone caught talking to a lobbyist should be removed from office. See, that's the problem with the system. Nobody There's no checks and balances for it. Nobody wants to talk about it because it's corrupt. It is about corruption. It's the most colorful word it should be used here. It's blackmail. If you don't vote this way, I'm not giving your party the donation. We're not giving you this money. And we see it at every level, clear down to the NRA. All they are doing is lobbying a political group. That's why politics have become so corrupt. We've allowed money to control the politics. I think personally every politician, all their financials should be brought up. My friend probably said it best. All our politicians, they need to be wearing, like NASCAR, wearing driver suits, showing all their sponsors or all their lobbyists who donates, who backs them. You also should see, are they invested in the oil companies? Are they invested in pharmaceuticals, which is the biggest one now? Because if they are, they shouldn't be voting on particular subjects because they can't be trusted. In fact, they shouldn't be in office to begin with because they're too easily manipulated by money. They have investments at stake. They're not going to pass laws to hinder the pharmaceuticals. They're not going to pass laws that's going to bring about affordable health care for anyone. Because if they do, they're not making money off their investments. And we've seen this throughout history. We've seen it with any form of the caste system. It's the way to create the caste system. You start dividing people into categories. This is the working class. We call them white collars, blue collar worker. These are our teachers. These are our doctors. We start creating a social class for each of these. This group of people is going to only be allowed to ever make this much. This is how the economic system works. Doesn't matter how much property you own, how many things you own. The truth is, the more things you own, the more debt you probably had to pay to get yourself out of. Because not everybody has the cash to pay for everything in cash, which is another flaw to this broken system. They don't want you to have the cash in hand. They want you to borrow it, charge it, become in debt. Because when you're in debt, you're paying more than what the actual value of the item is. So therefore, now you're just not paying the bank, you're paying the corporations, other people that are above the systems. They're placed higher up in the system. They're making money off you when they shouldn't be making nothing. When the only person that should be making money off the item is the creator of the item. Now, many people don't even know the story about McDonald's. When I heard this story, when I had this philosophy of economics was taught to me, it was interesting when McDonald's first started up, and for a very long time, you know how much they made off anything they sold? a penny. And look at McDonald's today, one of the biggest franchise corporations out there. No longer making just a penny. Now they're making billions off people. I mean, I remember going to a Burger King or a McDonald's in the 90s. You were getting a meal for under $5. In fact, you probably had at least $3 left over, $3 to $2 left over in your pocket. Now the average value meal is over $5. But yet we've not seen an increase in our pays because, like I've stated, it's not about increasing the wage because they kind of are for increasing your wage because that means they can just take more money from you. And that's the other big manipulation of the tax market, the tax system. That's why, they act like they don't want to ever increase minimum wage, but they realize by increasing minimum wage, they're making more money off you. More money's coming into the system and less is coming back into your pockets. That's why they never put laws and regulations in place to prevent people matching the raise. I remember being able to walk into a grocery store. Man, if you spent $100 at a grocery store, you had enough food in your house for over a month. You were filling up 2 to 3 shopping carts of food. Now you spend $100 and you barely got a half a cart of food. And well, guess what? We're still all making the same amount of money. Which is the reality of the whole economic system. They'll trick you and give you something colorful. Hey, we're going to raise the minimum wage. You're going to make more. Sounds good. Because, hey, if I'm making $18 an hour, that's better than $10 or $11 that I was making. But what they don't tell you is you're going to be jumping tax brackets. I quickly realized and figured it out when I was working in Boone, North Carolina, at Applebee's as a prep cook, making $10 an hour. Man, that was good. Oh, I was making 11. I was making 10. Bringing home good money, 800, 900 every 2 weeks. Ended up getting the meat cutter position there to cut the steaks and stuff. Steaks and the pork chops. I was probably a little too good at it. Because they gave me ended up getting $1 raise off it. Because my numbers were so good on the cuts. Next thing you know, once the next pay cycle came through with the raise, I went from bringing 800, 900 home to bringing 400 home. I lost half my earnings because I had jumped the tax bracket. So now I'm getting paid more, but I'm bringing home less. All because I got $1 raise. It's like, man, why am I bringing home less? I'm actually working more hours. I should be close to breaking the $1,000 every 2 week mark at the hours I was putting in because I was putting in 80, 90 hours. But I was bringing home less. I'm like, and we got to talking with the manager and stuff. Like, what the hell happened? And then they were like, well, you had to jump a tax bracket because nothing's changed you never changed or re-edited. You're single. You're not claiming anyone. So you figure I made a little over 10K for that year in income tax. I made way over 10K that year, but beside the point. I made over 10K. That's all that matters. You know, and I got like a $2,000 return, which means they got and pocketed close to $5,000. $5,000 that went somewhere to all these different. We know how it is here in the U.S. We've got so many different created agencies and organizations that do nothing. And supposedly some of that was supposed from the state level was supposed to go back into the schools, but yet where was that money that went back to the schools when my friend had to buy chairs for the classroom because they didn't have the money to buy enough chairs for every student in the classroom? So apparently I'm being robbed. Now if I don't pay Uncle Sam, I'd be committing a crime. Well, where's the crime? Where's the crime if I'm not going to pay when the money is supposed to where it's supposed to go is not going there? Let's talk about a real crime. Whose senator's pocket is it going into, or statesman's pocket that it's going into, or whose corporations that it's going into? Because it definitely wasn't going where it was supposed to. When my friends got to buy chairs for his school for his students, so the students all have a chair to sit on. That's become the reality of our economic system. It's all about taking more money from you. Then where does it go? Now it goes back to one of the quotes I said earlier. Follow the money. Well, it's kind of impossible to follow the money. Some of it goes to this organization or this agency. Well, what's this agency done? Nothing. It's just a name. They don't do anything. I watched all the state, some of the state taxes meant to go back into the state for road repair and stuff like that. You know what? I'm not seeing it. What I'm seeing is, oh, we're just going to gravel it. Or, oh, we found this. We're using this new stuff that doesn't even last the winter. But since it don't last the winter, now it becomes a demand. So they're using cheaper material that they know ain't going to make it through a year. Now they have to redo it the following year. So they demand more money. We need more money for this. But wait, they're getting a cheaper material. So you don't need no more money. You're making that more money. And you're just writing it off. Oh, it goes here. When in all actuality, you're getting that dirt cheap. Where if you would have just paved the damn road with actual pavement, asphalt, you wouldn't have had to fix the road in 5-6 years. Then you just have to patch it, run a little tar through the cracks. Wouldn't have to worry about it for another 8 to 10 years later down the road. No, they don't want to do that. They want to create a demand. And at the same time, they're shrinking their workforces, making people work more hours, where if they would bring more people in, everybody could be working 40 hours a week, bringing home a nice income, instead of having to worry about oh man, we're behind. We don't get this done. We're going to be fired, because now the workers have become replaceable. We have companies that are supposed to get people jobs. They realize, well, hell, we're getting a cutback by being a temp agency. We're making money. So we don't want that person to get a full-time job. So we want you to fire him before 30 days or 3 weeks or whatever it may be for this area you're in. So the temp agency still has, guess what? We might as well call it for what it is, cattle, to keep feeding in the system. Here, go ahead and fire them. If you cut them off this way, they can't even get unemployment. They started manipulating the system and started making millions off you guys. Then we had businesses that realized, well, shit, we could save money on workers by just getting them through the temp agency. We don't have to pay for their benefits this way, so we'll just let them go before we're responsible for their benefits. Watched it happen so many times. And they, most places painstakingly make sure they don't put you in some place where you're going to want to work anyway. We got to where corporations like Walmart will only hire through a temp agency. No longer can you walk in, fill out an application, or turn in your resume and get a job. Why? Because then they have to give a reason for terminating you. When they can save money by just hiring through the revolving door of the temp agency. We all seen how they manipulated and doctored unemployment numbers throughout all of 2000s. Because they came up with a system that only counted those who were on or in the welfare system or the unemployment system. For those that aged out, it was the accurate term for it. They were no longer counted in the statistics, which, we all know what it was like 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, how bad it was. We all seen the numbers, states like Ohio, 7-8% unemployment rate. In all actuality, the actual number was 20 or 30% unemployment rate because it didn't figure in those who are no longer eligible, those who were just given up on it. So therefore, they weren't added into the numbers, which allowed the numbers to be treated and gave it as a statistical value lower than what it actually was. Like the area I'm from, they talk about the economy's improving. Well, guess what? I don't see it. I don't see new factories coming in. I don't see new jobs coming in. Actually, I see less and less. I still see more and more factories shutting down. To where now we're down to, just in my area, 10. When it used to be 40, 50. Used to be, you got fired or you quit your job, you could go right across the street and have a job the very same day. Now you can't do that. Now you're forced to work in a place that you don't want to be there. Why? Because you have to have that job. So now you become reliant on a system because you can't afford to not be working. Whatever money you had put up will be gone within a month because of the rise of prices. The price at the gas pump, the price of the food. The fact when you spend $100 at the grocery store, you're lucky to have a half a cart, where before you spent $100, you had almost 3 carts full of food. Enough food for almost or over a month. We've not seen prices go down on anything. Every time the stock market goes up, every time they try to say the economy's doing great, we see prices go up. They say, oh, people are making more money now, so we can raise the prices. When in all actuality, we're not making more, we're making less. I mean, I remember in the 90s when I first started working, even when I was working in management positions or in the construction field, I had more money than I knew what to do with. I had money left over at the next pay cycle. And I was making a hell of a lot less then than I've made now. You know, the reality of it, if I'm making more now than I made then, I should have a lot of money left over after each paycheck. That's not the reality of it. The reality of it, I don't even have any money left. By the time I pay the bills, get groceries, put gas in the truck, put money back to keep the truck full, pay rent, or pay a mortgage, check's gone. There's no saving anymore. You know, we've become to where we have to live by needs over wants. Those wants might take 6, 7 months, a year to get, if that. But for most people, we'll say, well, I want that, I'm going to get it, so I'm going to go ahead and just charge it, or I'm going to take a loan out and get it. Now my truck, it's an old truck, 1990 Dodge Dakota. But you know how much I had to pay in interest on that thing? Nothing. I paid $1,500 for it, $1,500. Paid cash. So the only thing I'm in debt on that truck is the maintenance and the insurance. And since I have a perfect driving record, my insurance is dirt cheap because I only have to keep the minimum. But even that's outrageous. That's what this economic system is all about. Keeping you in debt. Keeping you from having the things you should have because you should be able to afford it. It's become so greed based that it hurts even the small business owners, the mom and pops. It hurts people like Christina Taft, the founder of Worldy. It forces you to find other avenues to bring in income. And we all know how that works because that's part of the system. Well, you want me to put income in, it goes back to what we was talking about, lobbyists. You want to be able to generate some money from our advertisements, so we're going to pay you to advertise. Well, here comes all the strings. But you can't be a free speech platform. You can't allow somebody to talk about this. You can't even have somebody review my product. If they review my product, I'm going to pull my money, or I'm going to go after you because I also pay the money to this hosting provider that you're using. So I'm going to pressure them by telling them I'm going to remove my ads. So they're going to come back to you, the low man on the totem pole, and pressure you to delete whatever they want or censor whatever they want you to censor because you don't have any control. You're being controlled. You're being controlled by the money men. It's always been like that. Look at our bankers. And I am going to talk about Wednesday. I have a request from one of my viewers to talk about war. War makes, most cases make money if it's a world war. But we've seen it. We've got documents. We've seen the history of it. The bankers, they don't care. There's no morals. They play both sides. Why? Because they're making money off both sides. It's always the corporation. They'll play all sides to make the money, to have some form of control. We look at all these major media corporations out there. They're all bought and ran by those that put money into them. So therefore, you're going to talk about these things. Because we sponsor this label. You're not going to ever talk bad about this label, or we're going to take millions of dollars from you. So then they're going to push or pressure other platforms. Hey, we can't have you taking our audience away. We can't have you talking bad about these things. You need to censor them, or we're going to strip our funding from you. Just like a lot of these platforms, they've came up with creative ways to get people in. When they first start off, here you can make money. You can make money for the more views you get, the more likes you get. We'll pay you for your content. Get everybody hooked in. And then they start bringing about the censorship and the control factors. Now that they've built their business off you, because your product, your creation is driving in traffic, and they're getting paid for the traffic that comes in. So they're giving you a small percentage of it. Now that they've got all this traffic coming in, now they want to completely take it away. They want to control what you're saying. See, that's what happens when we put a value on information. Information is monetary. It's become a monetary monopoly. If you have information, and it's been like that for history shows that it's been like that since it was ever written. Information is power. Information is money. It can be used to bring things up or bring things down. So they want to control the information, because if they control the information, they control the status quo. They control you. They force you to. They don't force you, they trick you into complying, or you don't. But if you comply, and if you step out of line, they'll revoke that from you. They'll threaten to terminate your channel, delete your video, demonetize it, or whatever the other colorful terms that they want. It's all about money, guys. It's always been about money. It's never about, paying a person for good quality work, for what they're worth, from their skills and their labors, for the things they create. If you create beautiful work, you should be paid for it accordingly. That's not how it works. They don't care about how good your quality is or what your skills are. You're no different than the person that doesn't even know how to do it. We're still going to give you the same pay. It's always been like that. Unions have used and abused it. For me, I can come on here on YouTube and learn any skill and trade I want, whether it's from computer programming to simple do-it-yourself stuff. How to use a tool that I've never used. I can learn it, but until I actually go and use it and get the experience, I'm not going to be able to create and do the things that the person's showing on the video. That comes with time. That comes with putting an effort and work into it to becoming masters of your skill. But when you become master of your skill, now you have value in that skill. Because somewhere, somebody might need some work done. And they're going to look for the people that have those skills. But unfortunately, we've seen how that system's been used and abused, especially in the private corporate sectors, the private contractings and stuff, where it becomes a monopoly of, here, we're going to do it for this much. You know, there is that saying, you get what you pay for. But it forces, much like the stock market, the system forces bigger corporations to underbid people to bring down the number. They know how much it's going to cost to make something. They know how much they're going to have to spend. And we all know how a lot of that systems work, for anybody that's ever done contract work. You know, you're going to get stuff at bulk prices. So therefore, you know, you've already got everything figured in. So, you know, they start out with a ridiculous amount of price that is based on individual pieces, not paid for in bulk. You know, not paid for at wholesale price. They're charging you the exact price that they get it to the store. So they know how much room they have to fluctuate. They know how much money they're going to make when they give you that low quote. We've also seen cases where, you know, there's kickbacks thrown within the deals and stuff to keep certain people out of the system. So, you know, certain people aren't getting these good quality contracts. It's a designed, rigged system. I've seen it, been there, done that, you know, to where, you know, the average person that's trying to better themselves, they get ran up out of the marketplace. Intentionally done. You know, it does come down to the aspect when it comes to economics, it's about control. It's about who's going to be entitled to what, who's going to be allowed to have position, not based off your skills, your labors, your talents. Hey, Free Spirit Press, it's all about who they choose. They've already chosen our next politicians for 10 years from now. They've already chosen who's going to be our celebrities, who's going to be our athletes. You know, they let a few. Why? Because it gives you that illusion that the system's working, it's not broke. That hope that, man, I live in this inner city. You know, there's nothing here besides gang violence, drugs, and poverty. If I can get this scholarship to play ball, whatever form of sports it may be, I got a chance to get out of here. Therefore, they're taking the academic part of it and forcing them to rely on sports. But we see the reality of that. How many people get that scholarship, go to play college ball? But only a a hand few make it into the pros. The rest, because they didn't care about the academics, they take lower end academics just so they can keep their GPA so they can play. So now they don't, when they get out of college, they don't have nothing to fall back into because they didn't train for anything else. They didn't learn new skills and trades. So they find themselves right back where they came from. The whole system's designed. It's designed to keep us in debt, enslaved to the system. Now, we can give it all kinds of labels. Yeah, it's today it's economics or economics. Next week it'll be something different. The root of all evil is the corruption. The corruption is what's brung down every great nation, every great empire. It's what it's what allows them to control the masses. Saying who can excel and be something to who can't. And it's like that no matter everywhere you go. It's all based on that one principle. Those that are going to control and those that are going to be the workers. And when the workers can no longer all right, free spirit, you get your rest. You're supposed to be resting up in healing anyway. It's all about control. It's all about, in the end, every one of these broken systems you'll find the control aspect, the caste system aspect, the aspect of you're not going to be nothing more than the cattle, the workers. You're the product. How do we change that? How do we get away from that? Well, we focus on the broken parts of the system. We start by, we had enough of the corruption. Our politicians, enough. You're not going to be bought. You're not going to be have lobbyists lobby you. That's not what we put you there. You swore an oath to the citizens, to we the people, not the corporation, not the lobbyist, or the organization that's donating money. You swore an oath to we the people. It starts by making any form of money to our politicians illegal. Any form, whether it be taking them out to dinner, that's illegal. Because that's trying to influence that person to vote a certain way. We stop corporations from allowing a corporation to donate as much money as they want to a campaign to back a certain individual. We go back to the common sense part of the Constitution. Okay, the Supreme Court said because a corporation is made up of multiple citizens, therefore it is not a citizen, therefore the Constitution don't apply. Okay. With that said, with that ruling made, then that corporation has no rights to donate anything. Because therefore, if it is, it's influencing an election. That corporation doesn't have no rights to lobby our politicians. Because it is influencing our politics. So therefore, the politicians can't make the money off them. because if they get caught doing it, it would be illegal. They would be removed from office. That's what needs to happen. That's how you just take that greed away. And you take that greed away by not allowing politicians to vote on matters where they have investments in. For all those that have stocks or own oil companies or oil wells or stocks in them, or pharmaceutical stocks, or own a pharmacy, or own insurance agencies, they're no longer allowed to vote on those matters. Which, in truth, they should be recusing themselves to begin with, because their interest isn't a neutral interest. Their interest isn't of we the people. It is their interest is on their investment and how much interest they're going to make if they pass or deny a certain bill or bring a law into motion. You know, I thought it was funny. They wanted to make a big deal of how much Trump's money he made. They do it with every president, but they don't want to do it with the Congress. They don't want to do it with the FBI, CIA, or any of the agencies or organizations that's tied to our government. But they sure as hell like to spend a lot of our money, don't they? They like to spend money on, oh, we got this committee. We're investigating this. Spending taxpayers' money and dragging it out for years. You know, we need to bring accountability back. We need to bring back checks and balances. Since we're talking about economics, let's talk about checks and balances. We, the people, are supposed to be the checks and balances for our government. So we, the people, should have the power when our politicians don't do their job and go against what we put them in there to do. We should have the right to have them removed. 7 states have that right. Every state should have that right. You know, we should have the right. We don't demanding of our politicians to remove lobbying of any form from the government. You know, but we live in a day and age where it's all about advertising. It's all about corporations and how they can influence the people, how they can put us and get us in debt by marketing. Heaven forbid a politician comes in and says, you know what, we're going to fix the economic system. We're going to fix it so when these states that want to raise minimum wage to $18 an hour, we're going to fix it so these corporations, these businesses can't increase the rate to match it. We'll allow them to increase maybe 2%. That way they're making money. The 98% goes to the, well, it won't be 98% because, you know, they're going to want their pound of flesh and taxes. So we're going to also increase another 15% the tax instead of jumping into a tax bracket. Now let's lower that down. I don't feel like doing long math. So, okay, 83% is what we would be taking back with, you know, the 2% to the businesses, you know, 15%, which I think is ridiculous and it should be illegal, but, you know, they say they got to have their taxes. So we'll give you a 15% increase on the tax without jumping us a tax bracket. But that 15% just not counted as federal. It's also to the state. So, you know, federal and state's going to have to work out how they're going to divide that 15. So everybody's making money. People are having more money in their pockets. That makes sense. But have they done any changes like that? Have they ever offered to make a change like that? No. Why? Because most of our politicians are invested into something. The irony of all that is, if we did something like that to protect our investment, we would have committed a crime. It goes back to the double standards of everything. It goes back to that very form of caste system of them dictating who's going to be what, who's going to have what, and that's the bottom line. That's not what our founders wanted for this country. That's not what the people wanted for this country. They didn't want a system that's meant to put people in debt and enslave them. The world is run by greed and corruption. That's what it boils down to. When we talk about money of any form, whether it be cryptocurrency or not, it's all about disrupting the system, forcing the system to implode on itself or crash. It's all about controlling the status quo, controlling information, controlling what skills are going to be allowed to have value at this time. It's not about you becoming successful, because that's just the illusion. In this day and age, to be successful is an illusion. Because if every one of us was successful, then there wouldn't be poor. There wouldn't be a middle class. There wouldn't be any class. And they don't want that. Because when there is no class, there's no control. There's no controlling people. There's no more of this that, oh, because you're middle class, you can never be a senator. You can never be a president. You can't be become a grand corporation, even though you started out as a small business. That's why only a few small businesses ever grow to be anything but. And the fact is, and it's been like this since the 90s, most small businesses are projected to fail within 5 years. They're designed that they're going to fail. Now, they give you the illusion of small business can succeed, but in reality, they don't. They never become a corporation. Only a select few. And those select fews that do, you come to find out that they end up being bought out because they loved the idea. They just didn't want the person that had the idea, that created it, to have that power. So they'll intentionally manipulate it so that it doesn't make anything. Then all of a sudden they buy the brand, they buy the patents and stuff. Next thing you know, overnight it becomes a huge conglomerate corporation. And you know who got robbed? It was the person that they manipulated and deceived to sell it. Because if they didn't sell it, they would have probably lost it. That's how messed up our economic system is. And most people don't even get it. They think they got to have a new cell phone, iPhone, every year. The corporation makes it so, oh, we're going to put this add this into our software so it'll drain the battery, which will force you to buy and have to buy the next version of it, or will control its data processing so it manipulates the data so it uses more, forcing you to buy a new one. Anywhere we look, whether it be the internet companies, cable companies, satellite providers, car dealerships, they all do it. Playing off the hard work of the individual, knowing that the individual is going to have to go and get a loan to buy a brand new car. Some people still have the mentality they got to keep up with the Joneses. Joneses got a brand new Mercedes, so I need something just as extravagant, something just as new. I gotta have me a nice Darnelli. So I'm gonna put myself in debt 50, 60,000. Because I gotta have it now, it's new. When I can go and get a 2007 Silverado for $5K. That works just as great as the new one. No rust, very minimal maintenance, everything's been kept up. That's a steal. But they don't want you thinking like that. They play on your wants and your needs. They know what you need. Then they know how to hook you on your wants, so you put yourself in debt getting those wants. I learned that a long time ago. Luckily, I learned that before I was 21. You know, in this day and age, not many people actually, when they're 16, work and buy their own things. My first vehicle was actually first vehicle I bought was a 79 T-Bird that I worked and paid for cash. Paid like $500 for it. My second vehicle and the last vehicle I ever bought off the car lot was my 89 Camaro. Paid $6,000 for it off the car lot. Loved that car. But yet I ended up paying more than the car was actually worth by the time I paid off my loan. And I started realizing, wow, man, I'm working my butt off where, I could have spent 1 year and I could have paid $4,990 cash for that very same Camaro that I ended up paying over $6K for after the interest on the loan. Made me rethink a few things. Now they trick you into the system that credit scores. Let's talk about credit scores before we finish up. Having AAA credit, good credit. What they don't tell you is in order to keep your credit, you got to keep yourself in debt. You've taken out loans. Like me, I took out a loan for that Camaro. Well, I paid it off in 3 years. It was a 10-year loan. That way I could keep the price down. So it was like my payment was like $185 a month. But I was dropping once I started realizing this, was dropping more money onto it. But because I paid the loan off quick enough, I was under the concept, I got AAA credit because I've gotten another loan after that for my Firebird, and didn't need no co-signers, had it. Well, what they don't tell you, after 7 years, those loans fall off, so you no longer have that AAA credit. So if you don't get in debt or borrow money again, you lose your good credit score. You lose your credit standing. Same thing applies for credit cards. You stop using credit cards, you lose The credit score, those fall off after 10 years. So in order to keep good credit, to be able to go and get a loan without a cosigner or somebody backing you, you have to get a loan, pay it off, then get another loan, pay it off throughout your whole life before you can ever, you know, where it should be, if I do borrow money and I pay it off early or pay it off on time, that should be the reflection of my credit for the rest of my life. So when I go get another loan, if I choose, and I do the same, that should be the reflection of my credit. This person, when he borrows, he pays back. In a lot of cases, he pays it back before it's actually due. But that's not how they do it. You know, I should be punished and you do get punished if you missed your payment. You get you got to pay more extra because you missed your payment as a fine. And that should also reflect, you know, if I'm a good, good person with my money, and do I always pay on time? Do I pay it off early? That should base on our credit. That's not how it works. They could care less. If you get your dream house, you pay it off, and you go 7 years without ever getting another loan, then on the 8th year, you want to do some little renovations. Well, you don't have a credit score now because you haven't taken a loan out in 8 years. And we don't have record of your last loan because it fell off 7 years, no longer in the system. So therefore, now you got to go through all that process of being a new. It's all about control. It's all about keeping you in debt. You want a loan? Well, you got to keep staying in debt and keep getting loans to keep that credit score. Where's the logic in that? Shouldn't it be based off example? Aren't we taught to live by example? My actions and deeds speak louder than words. The idea of credit, that should stay with you the rest of your life. If you're a good person that pays their bills on time, that should be reflected. In fact, you should be rewarded for it. But they don't. The only time they want to give you something is here, take this fine or penalty for being late once when you've never been late the whole time you've had it. In fact, they're going to even go as far, we're going to put that on your record as, you had a late payment, so, you're not a safe person to give credit to. It's a joke. But they don't talk about all those times that you paid more than what you were supposed to and that you're paid it off early. Now they don't care about that. The fact is, all they care about is the interest they're making off you. And first time you have a late fee, the extra money that they're going to make off you for the late fee penalty. Because they know. Sometimes something's going to happen. You get sick. You end up in the hospital. You didn't have vacation time, so you're going to get behind. Everybody gets behind on bills. Because something comes up unexpected. It's a rigged system. It's a system that is so designed to control you and manipulate you that when it comes to finding the fixes to this, it's simple. Put an end to the corruption. Put an end to the greed. Start penalizing the corporations that abuse the system. Start giving rewards to those that use the system and use it properly, that aren't abusing it. But no, they only want to get penalties for that. You know, every part of the economic system is designed to ensnare you, put you in debt, and keep you at the social class level that they deem is appropriate. You know, when so many people scream, raise the minimum wage. Yeah, what's the point? Fact is, you just went up a tax bracket. Fact is, every business in that state that just did that, all the prices went up to meet the increase of the minimum wage. Guess what? Now you're bringing home less. Now you can't afford the very things that you thought you was going to be able to. Like I said, quite simple. I went from $10 to $11, and my check was cut in half because I jumped the tax bracket. So instead of bringing 800, 900 home, I was bringing 400 home. Same thing happens when you increase the minimum wage. You're not the ones that are making the money. Everybody else is making the money that they're taking from you. And you're actually bringing home less. Easy to fix, but they'll never fix it. Because it means that they're going to be robbing from themselves to fix it. Because it means they're not making money off their investments. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Didn't want to make this any longer than an hour and a half. Like I said, Wednesday I'll be doing a viewer's request video talking about war and wars, which will be an interesting one. I've been wanting to do one about that for a long time anyway. And on the next broken system, which will be next Monday, I think we'll talk about healthcare and medical system, which I kind of pointed out, but in this one, it's all about money. All these systems. The money is what governs and runs all these systems. But definitely going to talk about the medical and healthcare system next, because it's an important system that's so broke it's not even funny. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed Wednesday or before, depending. You guys know me by now. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe, and I'll see you on the next one.